Hello to my wonderful listeners. One Family TV wala mutanali nan kotenke. UDP la leader ikafumeye ko lawyer Ousainou Darboe. Atele moti me alon ko afintita adiya mutade. Bari mbadi ngol jandin kala diamo nati nan ay kuma dantande fo mola kuoto de. Me alon ko wala mutala solo sandenti de me alon ko afintita April karo kono de 2016 na de katandi ko asulata men na banko dingol de pour reform alafta wala de former president Jammela wato nin kono de bari inata muta de ani modol men yalon ko ifintita de inata balota ka tilimbalia fo anata faybulu de me yalon ko wala keta tala solo sanden ninti de atandi ko UDP la leader ninde atandi ko woto jare sangola me yalon ko wala keta political patriotic ibe nyantale pour ye finti ka tandi ko nimmo molati me yalon ko afintita banko lede amanke ko afindita UDP le o afindita akonkilungola kuwalla de donc atandi ko animan sakunda e fana nyanta fintela le ye dakenin ko woninto me alon ko wala mutala solo sandenti di ani mol men alon ko ifindita April karoni na pour katandi ko ilafta reform le la me alon ko pour banko nin kande me alon ko kata former president ya jamela wato nin konoti de oto mbadi ngolu anna UDP la leader tan na lamoy anin hakilola mbadi ngolu kana alamoy anin jusolo abe kuma kan me alon ko abo fokan tala solo sanden na kuoto me alon ko kabri fintita pour katandi ko ilafta reform la Gambia banko nin kande wato me alon ko former president ya jamewe banko nin
to gain not only political freedom but also economic freedom for the Gambia. Salutations to Mr. Demba Ali Jao, my former colleague in the cabinet. I was in touch with Mr. Jao at a distance when he used to contribute to the articles in the newspapers. I read him, I felt him, but I deeply felt him when we served in the same cabinet, and he left a great impact on me as a man of great honor, a great patriot, one who never compromises principles for the good of the nation. Mr. Jao, I am singularly honored and privileged to share this high table with you. It's an immense honor to me. Today is the third Solo Sunday Memorial Lecture for an event that took place 8 years ago. We have really delineated this event to Solo Sunday, but it was not only Solo Sunday. It is for all those who have sacrificed over the years for the good of this country in order to rid this country of undemocratic rule, to usher in the rule of law and responsible governance. All those who sacrificed one way or the other. I see Mr. Jao said that he is here not only as chairman of the Victim Center, but also as one who has an immense respect for Solo Sunday. But I don't think I'll be wrong to say that, in fact, Mr. Jao, as chairman of the Victim Center, I think you have also been a victim. You lived in exile, and that is certainly an incidence of being a victim. A lot of things happen in your family, and you wished you were there, but you couldn't. And certainly, you qualify as, in my view, you qualify as one of the victims. So I said, the event, we just circumscribe and delineate to Solo Sunday, but it covers everyone. But I also want to really concentrate more on Solo Sunday, because April 14, 2016 was not the only time that Solo Sunday went out in a very sacrificial undertakings for the party. I recall the Chamoy Bridge incident. He was in the midst of it. He, like many others, were herded like animals, put on board trucks, under the rain, escorted with the greatest, humiliation, the greatest degrading human treatment to the police headquarters in Banjul. I recall Solo Sanden. I see him on top of the Gele Gele in Fast Njaga Choi, when he jumped out from the top of the Gele Gele and started pulling down mattresses for bedding for a period of at least 4 days. I remember Solo Sanden when he went into his bakery to bake bread to raise funds of about $3,000 in order to fund UDP's rally at Pirang. I recollect that Solo Sanden. That was the Solo Sanden who never hesitated to offer himself as a sacrificial lamb. Natra sintela sada yentefa wala mu bankola sadati ayemfa. That was the greatest offer that anyone can make for the liberation of his country. On that fateful day of the 14th April, I yelled at Solo, and that is an act I have regretted the whole of my life and will continue to regret it, because I do not have the means of facing Solo and say, Solo, please forgive me, because that was the day IEC was out to inspect the offices. And I was jittery that if the Manjai Bureau was not open for their inspection, that would be a good cause for really, deregistering the United Democratic Party. Little did I know that Solo was there with the inspectors. Because when I asked him, where are you? He said, at Bambo. And I thought, really, he shouldn't be at Bambo. And he didn't tell me how he was at Bambo. And I yelled at him and said, Solo, Tayata Mola Officer Jani IC Ben register. He didn't respond. And he never responded to me. And he will never respond to me. He went out on the basis of an agreement with other people who belong to other political parties and other stakeholders. On reaching Banjul Pharmacy, all others fizzled away, except Solo Sanden and his few members of the United Democratic Party, Nogonjai, Fatou Kamara, Fatoumata Jawara, this gentleman in Gunjur, Jite, Wakar Jite, and Falang, and a few others. But all others who had agreed with him, or had agreed among themselves, all other political parties that agreed among themselves that they would be there, all of them abandoned the enterprise. Solo took the lead. And ultimately, he died. When I received the news, late Friday night, that Solo had passed away, and that orders were given for him to bury it at Tanje. I called Lamin Diba and broke the news to him. And I thought I should go to his uncle, his cousin, Alai Mustafa Darboe, to also break the news to him before I could to the family. Solo, as I had said on that day, he was our Steve Biko, and he continues to be our Steve Biko. He was the one who, like Steve Biko, gave up his life to a ruthless government. He, like Steve Biko, was the one who didn't care whether a family member suffered ultimately or not. For him, South Africa was more important, and Solo also, for him, Gambia was more important. But his sacrifices were to abate all the wrong that have been done in the country. Our guest lecturer here was a victim. When the courts ordered for her release, when she walked out of the courthouse, they captured her son, kept him hostage, Pamudu. That is a way to coerce and force her out of wherever she might be. That's all the things that Solosan and others fought for. They wanted, he and his colleagues, and indeed the party he belonged to, and all other parties then, what they wanted was electoral reforms. That phony registers of voters, of voters must stop. That elections must be conducted transparently. And that the electoral process, its integrity must not be compromised. That is what he stood for. And lo, we have seen that instead of progress being made in that direction, the voter registration system has been further bastardized. How can the Alcalde of Brikama confirm the birth in that place of every person who claims to be from Brikama? How is that possible? How can a Sefo in Nyamina Dankunku attest to the fact that everyone in that constituency was born in that constituency, in fact, a Gambian? That is not possible. And that is where the use or misuse, abuse of the attestations came in. When had piles and piles of attestation documents heaped on the IEC, who could not in any way reject any of them. So Solo Sunday's sacrifice, his march, is still in. We are still looking forward to achieving it. There has not been electoral reform that is needed. We need a new constitution. Nothing has been done since 2016 for a new constitution to come into force. If anything, all efforts have been done to subvert the ushering in of a new constitution. That is what has taken place in the past years. But should we allow Solo Sanding and others who sacrificed for the good of the country, should we allow their sacrifices to go in vain? I don't think we should. I think we have the power, the authority, and to abate that. And that we can do by asking the government to act responsibly. And government must act responsibly by bringing that constitution into the National Assembly as soon as possible. When we have all the procedural steps, 3 months publication period for referendum and all those things, that document must come to the National Assembly before September this year. Publications should start now. So it comes before the National Assembly before September, and when it passes through the IEC to set a date for a referendum, and we get ourselves prepared for a new republic. That is what ought to happen. We cannot have all this food dragging. We cannot have all these fanciful international consultants and international advisors coming in. No, there must be the political will from us, the Gambians, and from the leadership that a new constitution will be ushered in. We have to take the necessary steps to do so. I want to appreciate the efforts of the National Assembly, together with the executive, of really enacting the law against torture. Yes, that's a good law, but will there be the political will to enforce them? Because the definition of torture is so wide that every day people have been tortured in this country. And they should be prosecuted under that law. So I ask the government that this law should really be given life. It should not just be on the statute book, just to point to them and say, yes, we have made this progress, we have made that progress, without really the efficacy of the law itself being put in use. So we congratulate the Executive and National Assembly for doing that. But we need to do more. We need to do more in our attitudes. We just don't have to pay lip service. We don't claim ourselves to be a democratic society when we do everything that is undemocratic. We don't call ourselves a law-abiding nation when we do everything that is contrary to law. Executive lawlessness is rampant. Executive lawlessness is rampant. And this we must check. there is utter disregard for law in this country. No government should pass a law and then turn out to disregard them. And that is exactly what is happening in this country. Laws are promulgated, and the government honors those laws more in violation than in observance. These are the sort of things that Solilo Sandeh and his colleagues fought against. Because a responsible government coming in through proper electoral process will not allow these sort of things to happen. A responsible government will not allow itself to embark on enterprises and efforts that will be self-perpetuating. A good electoral law will ensure that self-perpetuation is brought to an end. These are something that Solilo Sandeh and his colleagues so fought for. 8 years down the line, nobody has recognized, just as Mr. Jawar said, nobody has recognized Solilo Sandeh's efforts nationally. Even when we invite some other people to offer lectures, they decline it. And of course, we have no choice rather than we just have to fall back on the United Democratic Party, because we wanted these affairs to be a national affair, a non-UDP affair. And that is why we call on other people who belong to other political formations, who belong to NGOs and so forth, to come and offer the lectures. But when we do, and our requests are rejected politely, we have no choice but really to do it ourselves. And when we do it ourselves, people tend to think that this is a UDP affair. And this is certainly not a UDP affair, this is a Gambian affair. And I hope that next year, all political parties would hope that every year, next year, the government of the Gambia will participate in this day and join us, and join us in commemorating and celebrating Solilo Sandeh's sacrifices to the Gambian people. This, I hope, is going to be the move by the government, and I also hope that what happened on his funeral will not occur in future activities when government participates. Very few responsible members of the government attended that occasion. And it was thought to be a UDP affair. That was not a UDP affair. That was a day of national mourning, a day of national burial for Solilo Sandeh. And let us hope that we will forget a UDP, we'll forget that this is a UDP organized event. Let us forget that this is a Solilo Sandeh family organized event. Let us hope that we'll forget that this is an event organized not just by victims, but also by every Gambian. And I hope that when we do so, we will really give this event a truly national character. Just one thing, on the day of the event, Alhaji Darboe has mentioned that we ask that all deputies stay home, not to partake in the demonstration. Contrary to what has been peddled about, my son, Numkunda, commonly known as Papa D, just before he walked out of the parlor, he said, "Baba, I don't think it is a good idea for all of you to go out. Ask your deputies to stay." And I did, contrary to what other people claim. It was him who suggested to me, because for me, every one of us would have gone out. But again, there was wise counsel, and I hope that Mohammed and others will continue to really counsel us in some of the things that we do, including a question of age, but then common sense really helps in a lot of things. I wish next year we meet again at this venue, at other venue, or another venue, where the true national character of the event will be exhibited. Thank you very much.